All right, guys, another episode of Talking Preps. I know y'all are ready, so I'm going to skip it and let's go. All right, Randall, let's go right to your girls' players of the week.
We had a big week this week. A lot of good basketball. Leading it off, Jaren Truesdale, the senior from Myers Park, had 22 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists in a win Tuesday night versus Palisades. I think we might just have to stop putting Camry Hobbs on this list, and she might just be like permanently on there. I feel like every week I'm talking about her. She had 37 points, 14 rebounds, 5 steals versus East Rowan this past Tuesday. Blanca Thomas.
Blanca did not have 117 points. She had 17 points.
Right. Blanca Thomas, that would have been a record. Shaq had 17 points and 16 rebounds versus Independence and followed that up with a 21-point performance the next night versus South Meck. Charlotte Catholic went 3-0 this week. Caroline Clark from Weddington was 8 of 10 from three-point land versus Marvin Ridge Friday night and finished with 27 points. And last but not least, the Michaela Davis from South Meck had a 40-piece chicken nugget, including 8 made threes in Friday's win over Palisades. And she is our Randall's Rock Star of the Week.
Yeah, Michaela, I got to ask a question. Like when you start a game like that, is there a moment when you get hot and the basket looks like big as Arizona? I mean, what happens in those games?
I mean, I really just like block out all the noise. I learned how to block out everybody. I don't know. Trash talking really motivates me. So a lot of them over there were saying some things, so it really motivated me to just go out there and do what I had to do.
All right, can you give me the PG version of what they were saying to you?
Like they're just saying like I can't shoot and I'm not like that and like all this other stuff. So I was like, okay, bet. And so I did what I had to do.
Is that a career high for you in high school?
Yeah, in high school, yes.
Did you know it? Did you know that you had 40? Was after the game they told you?
No, it was crazy because it was like 2 minutes left in the game and they were like, my coach was like, all right, it's time for you to come on. I was like, no, like there's 2 minutes left. He was like, okay, get 2 more. He was like, so I already thought I was at 40, but he was like, get 2 more and you'll be at 40. So then he told me mid-game and then I think I ended it off with 2 free throws. So yeah.
Michaela, you guys have gotten off to a really good start. With you being new to South Meck, can you talk about like how your teammates embraced you and what that change was like for you coming to a new school this year?
The adjustment school-wise was definitely just a little harder for me because at my old school we didn't have as many students, so the stairs are always packed and it's just like a lot, but I've adjusted. My teammates are great. They welcomed me in like nothing. They really are my sisters. Like I couldn't be doing the things I'm doing right now without them. And I just really enjoy them. They're great teammates. I love to play basketball with them. And yeah.
I got to ask a question. How does North Carolina basketball compare to South Carolina basketball?
The competition level is so different. I mean, it's just, mainly competition. That's really it. That's just the difference. I mean, there's not really a lot of competition in South Carolina till like late in the playoffs, I feel. But in North Carolina, I feel like every game is a competition.
Well, congratulations on your big game. I know you're at the airport, so I really appreciate you finding a little corner and getting away from the TSA agents and talking to us. Best of luck to you. And we'll catch you on down the road, okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Michaela Davis. I did not call her anybody's sister, Randall. I'm not getting in trouble.
You didn't. Hey, I was just waiting for somebody to say something about Jaden. That's what I was.
I did not even mention it. For those of you who don't know, that's Jaden Davis, our Mr. Football. That is his sister. She's having a phenomenal season in her own right, and as I said, I do not.
And she lets everybody know it. Like she's not one of those. She does not take it well when you refer to her as Jaden Davis.
I made the mistake because I went to Jaden's ceremony when he got Mr. Football, and she looked just like him. I said, "You got to be Jaden's sister." She said, "No, I'm Michaela." I said, "Oh, okay, my bad. I'm not trying to get in trouble anymore." Rick, boys players of the week.
Well, we start off with 6'6" junior Isaiah Cannon School with 33 points, 15 rebounds against Charlotte Christian. And, they moved Cannon to 22-9 for the season. And what's impressive about this is Henry's put up great stats throughout the course of the year. And Cannon's played probably one of the toughest strength of schedules across the state, depending on any classification. And next up, we have 6'5" junior KJ Younger of Weddington. Monster game of 39 points, 10 rebounds versus Porter Ridge. And look for Isaiah Henry and KJ Younger to fight for next year being the top senior player in the Charlotte area. KJ Younger doesn't have the reputation that Isaiah Henry does, but he's developing very quickly. And
so, are you telling me Sadiq White's not going to be in Charlotte next year, Rick?
Pardon me?
Are you telling me Sadiq White's not going to be in Charlotte next year?
Well, Sadiq will be in there too, but I'm just saying these two guys will be up there.
Okay.
Yeah, don't let him try to slip you up, Coach Rick. Good job. Very good job right there, Coach.
Next up is 6'5" super sophomore Marcus Carr, and it is pronounced Carr, not Kerr, but he had 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 steals, 3 assists, 3 blocks, and and Marcus and his teammate Taurus Bowie are two of the best sophomores in the state of North Carolina, and Marcus is trending to be a high major prospect. The next to last player is Malachi McCutcheon, and he's from Corvian. And, reading Ron Murphy's tweet, what was impressive about him, he was sick the entire week, and he ended up with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and a win versus Christ the King. And also, Corvian is now 6-3 and one of the top teams in the 1A public school.
Yeah, again, shout out to Ron Murphy doing a great job with those young guys.
And a player of the week, and we've had him as a player of the week, and we said it before, he's going to probably be player of the week several times. Isaiah Evans with a 44-point performance, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks against Mallard Creek. And I've said this before, but when you watch Isaiah Evans play, he's one of the most emotional, enthusiastic players that you'll ever watch on a basketball court. He has a great on-court personality, and he's going to become an instant fan favorite of the Duke Cameron Crazies.
Randall, you agree with that?
100%. 100%. He has a lot of personality. He's gonna talk to the fans. It's hilarious every time.
Talk to everybody.
Every time I'm in Cameron, Isaiah's in Cameron. So he's definitely excited about going down to Durham. That's for sure.
No, it's gonna be fun watching him play.
And one more thing I want to say about Isaiah Evans, and I said it before, is here's a young man I think should be a model type of person to emulate. He's one that went to North Mac his freshman year, played on the JV team, and was very patient throughout the process, never rushed it, and his time came. But the more important thing is, I'm sure Isaiah Evans had a lot of opportunity to go to a bigger school outside the area on a national level, and he stayed true to North Mac. And you can see when he plays, he loves North Mac and he loves his teammates.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to see a little bit more from Isaiah Evans on Who Balled Out. All right, Randall, our first person is Kaylee Ellis of Lake Norman. All these shots you're about to see are buzzer beaters. She just keeps making buzzer beaters. Watch. Buzzer beater. Hit the horn. Buzzer beater. Listen for the horn. Here we go. Listen for it. Get that up. Get that up.
Hey. The ball just finds her at the end of the quarter.
Here's it again. Watch. Buzzer beater.
No, that's crazy. That's pretty good.
I'm not done.
Wow.
You heard it, right? Buzzer beater.
That's impressive.
One of Rick's guys, this is a little short highlight, but Rick, this young man right here, getting the ball on the wing. He's 6'9". Get out of my way. Hello. Pretty impressive. Then LJ Smith, Rick, why don't you talk about this young man leading the state in scoring, broke his foot. I don't know if he's going to be out for the season or not.
He's out for the season, speaking to the coach.
Yeah. What do you think about him?
Well, he was at our, our NC top 8, and he was, at the time, the freshman Mr. Offensive player. He is so explosive, and he's wired to score.
Yeah. All right. Here's your guy, Rick. Talk about Isaiah Evans. Take it away.
Well, when you watch Isaiah Evans, he's one of the most skilled offensive players that you're going to see in the state of North Carolina. He can catch and shoot off the bounce. He can create his own shot. He has a step back. He has the side step. And as you can see the emotion and enthusiasm of the course of the game. Great, impeccable timing on missed shots and rebounds. Again, that is one of the most hardest shots in the game of basketball, with your back completely turned to the basket and you have a turnaround jumper from the corner.
Perfect rotation on that shot. I know a lot of you guys compare him to a former Duke guy, but to me, he reminds me of like a little baby KD more than Brandon Ingram. I see him kind of more.
I think Kevin Durant, Ingram, Isaiah, they're all in that same type of mode. I think the most impressive thing about him is Isaiah. I don't think I've seen a high school kid that just gets to his spots like he does. A really great 3-level scorer, can really just put the ball in the basket. That's for sure.
Randall, what happens when he puts on 20 pounds next year?
It's gonna be scary for a lot of people in the ACC. I can tell you that.
No, Isaiah's having a phenomenal season. I'm just really impressed with him.
And Langston, the other thing too is he's very underrated as a passer.
Yeah, and Cam, you've seen Isaiah more than anybody. What do you think about him?
Superstar. I mean, one thing I was telling Observer photographer Jeff Sanders that the great Jeff like
Sanders. Hold on, the great Jeff Sanders.
Okay, the great Jeff Sanders. But Evans, it's almost like there's not much he can do to just amaze me anymore. I've seen him so much, and I've seen him do all this, just the fadeaways, the contested shots. I mean, the one-legged three from darn near 30 feet. I mean, this kid's gonna be special, and I think he'll not only make it to the next level and be successful at the collegiate ranks, but also at the NBA level.
Is he just a scorer, King?
Oh, Lord, no. Past 2 or 3 games I've covered, he's had double-digit rebounds, 2-3 steals, 3-4 blocks in those games. He can do it all.
All right, guys, now it's time to talk about the girls' games of the week. Randall, go ahead, take it away.
I'm excited about a lot of these games this week. We're going to first start off with Myers Park at Audrey Kell. This is a matchup that we saw a couple weeks ago. Myers Park goes on the road to go take on the Knights. Should be a very competitive game. Jaron Truesdale and the Mustangs trying to remain unbeaten in conference play. And obviously Audrey Kell trying to keep pace with them and avenge their loss from a few weeks ago. Next up, we got Cannon at Providence Day. The Chargers will host the Cougars on Tuesday night. Providence Day is coming off a tough loss to Legacy, and they're going to try to keep pace with Cannon. Cannon is coming off a blowout win at Charlotte Christian, and they're going to try to wrap up the conference championship. Hickory Ridge at Lake Norman. Cam and I got to see that game, and Coach. We were all in attendance for that game last week. A very competitive game. Hickory Ridge hung tough right until the end. Alexis Sheehan was very good, had 18 points for Lake Norman. So I'm expecting this game to be competitive once again. I'm sure Coach Jupiter Wilson is going to have his girls ready to go on the road and going to make some adjustments for that.
They were in position to win round 1 too.
They were. They went down literally to the final minutes of that one.
They had it under 2. They had it at 2 points with less than a minute to play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next on the list, we got West Rowan taking on J.M. Robinson. West Rowan is 18-1, 12-0 in conference, and we will see if their game travels Friday night as they visit J.M. Robinson's coming in at 14-4, 10-2 in the conference. Since Ella Hobbs' injury, sister Camry Hobbs has stepped up. She's averaging 31.7 points per game over that time. So we're going to see if she can help lead her team on Friday night. And last but not least, we got Bandy's and Maiden. It's a battle for second place in the Catawba Valley, Maiden comes in at 8-2 in the conference. And in the first matchup of this game, Bandy's, the Blue Devils won 59-44. So the Trojans will look to extract some revenge Friday night and see if they can get the win.
All right, I got one comment. Bandy's and Maiden makes me seem like we're talking football. I'm waiting for my football guys. I'm like, Grinder, tell me about that game. I'm ready to talk to Chris. Like, girl, tell me about that game. And then he goes on for like 20 minutes telling you all these things. Barbara Nelson, Cam, has been undefeated against Charlotte schools all year long. You guys have not talked about Myers Park. Your Sweet 16 rankings that you do has Myers Park like number 6. Is Myers Park a favorite in this game, a favorite to win that conference? Yes. Is Myers Park a favorite to win state or at least get to regionals?
Favorite in the conference, absolutely. I've got them winning this game. They handled Audrey Kell pretty handily the first time they played them. The reason I've got them kind of down the list just a little bit is the strength of schedule is a little worrisome. Um, I think that the AC Reynolds game was a great test for them. Several good tests towards the midway point of the season for them. And next time I see Barbara, she's probably gonna be upset at me. But no, I mean I think they can make a deep playoff push. But I think there's some teams just above them right now that are a little quicker, a little more cohesive. But no, I mean I'm not going to bet against Barbara Nelson.
This the thing. We got a bunch of teams in this area that are all in the melting pot, I guess you could say. You got Lake Norman, you got Charlotte Catholic, you got Mallard Creek.
Now there's one I don't think is in the melting pot. There's one I don't think.
You got Myers Park. So you got all these teams that on any given night I feel like they can beat a lot of each other, just depending on the matchups. It depends on who's going to play who. And
Mallard Creek's opportunity, Randall. If they're ever going to win a state, this is
they got to do it this year. 100%.
They match up better with Panther Creek than any team in Charlotte. The question is, can they get out of Charlotte? That's going to be the question. Cannon playing Providence Day. Providence Day has to keep that game under 40, 45. That about right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it will. I think they will. The thing about Cannon is young, but they got a lot of girls that can really play. And obviously we know how good Jada is, but with a young team and you got to go on the road to Providence Day, it's going to be a true test for them to see how they can battle through adversity for sure.
Yeah, I think
the key thing that Randall just mentioned about this melting pot. Yeah, every one of them has a different style,
But they all have a deficiency. They all have a hole that's like
not one of them.
Who can
yes, they all do. Yes, including your school, and I know she's watching, including them. They do too. Everybody
has watching. She's gonna start.
Hey, listen. She already yelled at me last week because she thought I picked against him, and I was like, "That wasn't me. That was Gary." She was like, "Oh, somebody told me it was you."
What school? What school did I pick again?
Are you talking about
Carlin Dixon? Yeah, Carlin Dixon, friend of the show.
No. When we picked Hickory Ridge, Lake Norman last week.
I'll say this though. I think Providence Day and Myers Park are kind of similar. If you let Springer get to the last 4 minutes, he's in the game. Especially if you let Barbara Nelson the last 4 minutes be in the game, you're in trouble. Yeah. Barbara Nelson is the best, male or female. I would want Barbara Nelson coaching my team in the final 3 minutes. That's just me. Gary, Hickory Ridge, Lake Norman, what do you see there in round 2?
Hickory Ridge and Lake Norman always comes down to the last 2 minutes of the game. But what always happens to Hickory Ridge is they are dependent on 3 players to be great. Okay. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the line in the last 2-3 years in this matchup, someone doesn't play to their expectations, and that's where they get in trouble. It happened the last game. If they get all of their players individually to play to their expectations, then they can win. That's what happens with Lake Norman. I think they have 4 very, very good players, and 3 of them always show up. Now it may vary of the 4 what 3 are going to show up, but 3 of them always show up. Okay, Hickory Ridge has got all their best players to show up.
Right. Well, here's my question, Cam. Which one is it going to be from Lake Norman? Is it going to be my favorite lefty? Is it going to be one of the Sheehans? Who's it going to be?
I mean, it could be any of them, and I think that's kind of what we're all hitting on here, and that's why it's hard for me to, even though their strength of schedule is kind of weakening out, it's kind of hard for me to move them down because they're still winning, and they're so cohesive as a team. Any one of them can give you 12 to 15 points on any given night.
Cam, you taking the safe route. He asked you a very, very direct question.
I did.
He wanted you to pick. He wants you to say right now, who's it going to be? And tell everybody, you got it wrong last time. You got a chance of redemption right now.
I didn't get it wrong. She had 3 less points. I'm going Sam Sheehan this time.
I'm going my favorite lefty. My favorite lefty is going to be hot this week.
All right, I'm going with my favorite Sheehan again. We're going to run it back.
Shooting from the logo. All right, Richard, let's talk boys game.
The question was, why is Lake Norman number 1 over 2 or 3 other schools? I thought that's what the question was.
No, that's an off-topic question. Don't get us in trouble on this show. Rick, let's talk boys game.
Before I go into each individual game, there's 3 public school games and 2 private school. On the private school side, it's about gaining momentum for the state playoffs because this is the last week of the Private School Association. On the public school side, you have 3 teams that, if you look at the NCHSAA RPI rankings, you have Lake Norman number 1, Myers Park number 2, Weddington's number 3, Mount Tabor's number 4, and number 5 is North Meck. So on the public school side, you have an interesting scenario where, you know, if all the top seeds win and everything plays out as it is on the RPI, you would probably have in the 4 and 5, you'd have Mount Tabor playing probably, you know, North Meck. So let's say North Meck wins that game and it's the Final 4. You would have Lake Norman, North Meck, Weddington, Myers Park, and then I know everybody in the Charlotte area is wanting a North Meck, Myers Park, Western Regional Finals.
Would that sell out Joe Coliseum, Rick?
Would come pretty darn close. They would be great. But on Tuesday night, you have Myers Park. They're 18-2. They're 6-0 in the conference. They're going against Aldrich Hale, who's 15-5, 4-2 in the conference. This is their last true, what I call tough road game. After this, they'll run the table. I don't see anyone coming close to Myers Park here on out until the playoffs. Next is Cannon. Cannon is 22-9, 6-2 in conference play, and a team that's sort of on the rise right now is Providence Day, who's 21-7, 7-1 in conference. They just beat Cannon a couple weeks ago, and then Saturday I watched the game between Providence Day and Covenant Day. And those were 2 of the hotter teams in a private school, and Providence Day looked very, very good in that. It's a situation. Providence Day is young. They have only 1 senior. You're going up against Cannon, who has Austin Swartz and Isaiah Henry and a very talented freshman. This is momentum time for both teams heading into the state playoffs. Right. Then Coach you got, to me, the game of the week. I mean, North Meck Chambers. North Meck is 16-3, 9-0. They're going to be playing at Chambers. Chambers is 14-6, 9-1 in conference. If you look at Chambers' schedule, you know, I don't care what their RPI, they're probably in the top 5. To me, they played one of the hardest schedules anybody.
Absolutely.
They've had a very tough schedule. Chambers has a lot of talent. They got the 2 super sophomores. They got Mario Hansen. And, of course, North Meck has Evans. And, you know, they're a very talented group. If North Meck wins this game at Chambers, the key point is how far do they move up in the RPI? Or, you know, Chambers is a really good team, you know, so, you know, a situation that could occur, you could have the final RPI rankings, Lake Norman number 1, Myers Park number 2, North Meck number 3, and the Charlotte fans won't get that North Meck Myers Park matchup in the Western Regional Finals. Next up is Lake Norman. Lake Norman's 19-1, 8-0 in the conference, going up against Cox Mill, and this is their last true road test of the year as well. I see Lake Norman winning this game. I think they'll run the table. They're in a very competitive conference. Their strength of schedule with Hickory Ridge, Cox Mill, Mooresville. It's a really good conference. So, you know, it's going to be hard for Lake Norman to lose that number 1 RPI seeding. And then another game at the private school level, we have Carmel Christian. They're now 15-10. Cam Taylor's averaging 25 points a game, who's had a phenomenal year. Going up against legendary coach Freddie Johnson at Greensboro Day. Another important game. Carmel Christian has won 9 straight games.
Wow, didn't know that.
And Carmel is sort of like, you know, Chambers. They have played a very tough schedule early on. So winning 9 straight games, all these teams at the private school level, Cannon, Providence Day, Carmel, are all trying to get some momentum going into the state playoffs.
Yeah, shout out to Freddie Johnson. Became the number 6 winningest coach in American high school basketball history last week. Shout out to him. I think he's the greatest boys basketball coach in North Carolina history. You guys know who I think is the female basketball coach in North Carolina history, but shout out to Freddie. I want to come back to you, Randall, on that Mars Park.
I got a question.
You putting Freddie ahead of the late great Charles McCullough?
Yes, yeah. He's won 1,000 games. Charles McCullough won 535 games.
Right.
I think Charles McCullough is the best out of this area, but if you ask me the state, I'd have to say Freddie.
Okay.
Mars Park, Audrey Kell, Randall. Sir Muhammad is probably going to play this game. We've seen him a little bit off and on this season. If he's not right, can Mars Park still make history, become the first Mecklenburg County team since West Charlotte 91-92 to win back-to-back state titles?
Sir Muhammad is back. He's right. He understands what time of season it is.
I didn't say that he's courageous. I'm saying
no. He's right. Like he's healthy now. Okay. He's finally healthy. And this is a great week for him to be healthy. I mean, they're at Audrey Kell Tuesday. They're at Olympic Friday. Two very tough places to play. And he's ready to go. So I think it's good for them because now he comes back. You insert him at this time of the season. And I think it's going to give the team a boost and really, really help refocus them as they get ready to try to make this title run.
Yeah, and Rick, you talked about Providence Day being young. Cannon's very young as well. If you take Schwartz out, I mean, they're all juniors and sophomores and freshmen. These are two teams that could be among the best private school teams and best teams in North Carolina next year. It looks to me like private schools are they had their dip and maybe they're trying to come back up a little bit. What happened to Cannon, though? Because we've seen Cannon be so up and down this year. What do you think's happened there?
That's a tough question. I think Cannon's trying to find their true identity. I think it's a situation where they got to play consistently. I think on paper, you look at with Isaiah Henry, and then you got Austin Schwartz. They would probably be favored to beat teams like Providence Day or Covenant Day. But a lot of times, playing against those type of teams, those other teams get up for you, and you got to bring it every single game. So. It's a situation. I'm sure Jay Roth is scratching his head a little bit there too, because I had Cannon as a favorite to play Christ School for the state championship.
Yeah, me too. I think,
Coach Rick, I got a question for you, and I mean, is this a must win for Cannon Tuesday night?
Yeah, I think so. Oh yes, Rick. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm asking. That's fine. I'm asking everybody, really.
Yeah, because Providence Day wins a share of the championship if they win this game, and then that also comes with the top seed. So you want to be sure that you have home court because home court lasts all the way up, I think, to at least quarterfinals. So you want to make sure you have home court. And so this is a huge game, and Cannon being the favorite, they still have a chance to finish where they're supposed to be. So I think. And they want to get some revenge from the earlier game. So I think this is definitely 1,000% a must-win.
Yeah, for this particular conference, Cannon is 6-2. Providence Day is 7-1.
Yeah.
Now, Providence Day did beat Cannon at Cannon.
Yeah.
So if Providence Day wins this game, they can probably win out the conference championship and get the number 1 seed.
Yeah, no, correct. That is very correct. Cam, North Mac Chambers, the last time Isaiah Evans was at that wasn't the last time, but I think he had 45 the last time they played at Chambers, but he always seems to have his biggest games against Chambers. Do you see another big Isaiah Evans game? And then flip that around for me. What can Chambers do to pull the upset?
Sure. I mean, it's hard to ever say Isaiah Evans can't have a big game because, I mean, he put up 44 against Mallard Creek, and it didn't seem like he was shooting the ball all that much. I mean, he was very efficient, and so he can go for a lot of points in a hurry. What can Chambers do to stop him? Throw everyone at him. I mean, force Chadlin Traylor, force Trey Maxwell and Ashton Pierce, etc. Force the other guys to beat you and do everything you can to deny the ball. I mean, one thing that kind of worked last year is Chambers put their best defender on him and just try to play keep away and not let him get the ball. But I mean, it didn't work the entire game, but I mean, it worked better than at least the other matchups in recent memory. But I mean, it's going to be a tough one, and Coach Frazier and Coach Lutz, if you're watching, don't hate me, but I don't know if there's a scenario where Chambers can win this game.
Well,
I got Isaiah going for 50 Friday night.
Okay, Gary, I watched Camden, New Jersey play North Mac on a nationally televised game earlier this year. Camden has a high major guy going to Kentucky, but they doubled Isaiah the whole game, much like the Lakers doubled Jalen Brunson last night in the fourth quarter and shut them down. It worked. You don't see teams doubling Isaiah very much in Charlotte. Would you, in this game, say anybody but Isaiah is going to beat me?
Yeah, I would try it because the other ways haven't worked.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I would definitely try it. It's almost like you would be playing a boxing one, where
No, I don't know. I'd be straight up doubling.
you double him without the ball, or you
Straight
double
up
him
double.
with the catch?
Straight up double, like girls basketball in the '90s. Straight up double.
Just
Tell me what.
Oh, so you're going triangle and 2 on Isaiah.
Tell me what his breath smells like. What type of chewing gums he chewing? I want to know.
but what we're asking, Randall,
You're not gonna score 108 points on me if he don't get 40. That's what I believe.
Okay, so you're saying triangle and 2 then, basically.
Yeah, I'm saying doubling. I don't care what you want to call it.
Face guard.
Double that man.
Okay.
You can hang out at the free throw line as soon as he get it. Go double him.
Oh, so you saying doubling on the catch?
On the catch. All right, that's what you got to be specific.
Oh no, double on the catch, not like.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm wondering. I was like,
that's what we were trying to figure out.
I used to coach a young man who was best player at the state that time named Jacob Newman, and they used to double him from when the other team had the ball, they would double him. It was the funniest thing to me. He's just jogging down the floor as 2 dudes doubling him. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying
one of the things
but
don't need to get him riled up.
Yeah, no. Mac, though, you're picking your poison, though. They got a lot of complementary pieces that can beat you as well. Trey Maxwell.
Rick, I agree with all of that. I'm saying I haven't seen the complementary pieces score 80 points.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm with you, Langston. I'm gonna let anybody else beat me on the floor but him. So
I've seen him.
They haven't had to score that many points. That's another thing we're forgetting.
But I don't know Cam, because every time I look up, he's scoring 50. I mean,
yeah, but because they're not doubling him.
Listen to me,
Trey and Chadley can score 25.
Listen to me, Cam. In a big game, I have covered high school sports in Charlotte for 35, 36 years. I have never seen a guy who can score like this guy. Never.
Oh no.
And I'm saying, if I'm playing North Mac, I've seen enough of him. Show me something else. And it may not work, to Gary's point, but I'm saying I'd try it.
And I think what Cam is saying is, can Chambers score 60 or 70 points anyway?
Yes.
And can they outscore North even if Isaiah doesn't have a big game?
They have the players to do so. You got Mario Hansen, a 6'7" senior who is a very skilled center. Jordan Patton. You have really 2 super sophomores. They have the talent. It's just they got to develop that dog mentality, and I think that's what they're missing. I remember speaking to Brian Frazier at Chambers, and we were talking about Isaiah Evans, and he made the comment. He said, "I absolutely love him." He goes, "The amount of passion that he plays with, he just plays hard." And, for someone that's that talented, that plays with that much passion and plays that hard, that's a gift.
No, it absolutely is. Well, guys, I appreciate it. Say again, Gary?
That's an MJ gift. He's harder than everybody, and it's more talented than everybody.
No, he's special. Every now and again we have one of those ones. I've been fortunate to cover some guys like that, and he definitely is one of those ones, as the kids would say. But I appreciate the conversation. We're gonna leave it there. We're gonna go to the next segment. So, Gary, I know you're in a good mood. I see you with your Carolina shirt on, your sweatshirt. So I'm going to start with you. Private school athletes are getting NIL in the fall. What happens next? Is it going to – I'm not even going to put words in your mouth. What happens next?
Well, I think that it's going to be an experiment in the fall. I don't think you'll see a lot of kids getting NIL. It'll start with football. And, of course, what's the most important position in football? Quarterback. So these kids whose parents are impatient about them waiting their turn. Now private school is an option. Go play quarterback in private school. So I think that'll be the first domino to fall. And then if that's successful, then I think you'll see 1 or 2 in basketball. What I'm curious about, I want Chrissy's thoughts on this, is when we do get to private school, is that money going to be equal for girls?
Christy?
That is actually one of the things that when we were talking to this earlier that I was thinking about was, we already have a gender gap. And I think that it's going to be just as much, if even not more, continuing to grow that gender gap. You can't pay the female athletes because they're not bringing in the money, that the revenue that the male athletes bring in. And that's, at the professional level. So, it's going to trickle down to the high school level as well. Girls may not get anywhere near the same amount of opportunities with NIL as the boys are going to get. But I also think the NIL is going to make the team cohesiveness go away. I think the kids are going to be more wanting to chase stats now. You were trying to get the money, so now you want to be the man. You want to be able to, or be the woman. I think that the individual stat focus is going to be a lot more than, the team focus.
Richard.
Well, I think if you look at the collegiate NIL, most of the NIL goes to the high-profile athlete at the high major level. I think a lot of times in this situation, it's going to be fool's gold, and it's going to create a negative perception with a lot of parents, because a lot of parents, they're all going to think their child is worthy of an NIL deal. And that's not going to be the case. So I think there's going to be a lot of upset parents when it doesn't materialize.
Yeah. Cam, the average NIL deal is $60 to $100 for a high school kid. You think Rick's point is salient? The parents are going to kind of get out of control thinking their kid's the next Michael Jordan?
Well, most definitely. I mean, when we're talking $60 to $100, I'm sure every parent's going to feel like their kid, is talented enough to get an NIL deal, as small numerically as those figures are. But it was like I was texting you earlier in the week. Just what Chrissy hit on, team cohesion, but it's also going to, like she said, stat padding. I mean, guys are going to want to go out there and just look at me, trying to get those NIL deals, and it's gonna cause some friction within and amongst teams. And I think kids have to play at the high school level for the love of the game, and not necessarily for $100 or free Chick-fil-A as long as you're in high school.
Yeah. Well, there's one guy.
I think it's bad for public schools because now we another step up with the private schools they have on the public schools. So kids, we're going to start seeing them leaving our public schools, heading out and following the NILs.
Yeah. Well, one guy on here that probably works with some kids who could probably make some serious NIL money more than the average is Randall Clark. So what are your thoughts here, Randall?
I think Chrissy made some really good points, and I think that's my biggest concern. We saw it on the collegiate level where, we had certain guys on a specific team making more money than their teammates, and things kind of got out of control, and their season kind of went south last year. So they kind of had to come up with a team collective. I think
you can't have collectives in a private school. That's out.
Exactly, which is going to be the problem with high schools. So it's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out. For the reasons that Coach Mitchell and Cam named, you're gonna have these kids making NIL deals, and I'm sure they're gonna be requirements. There's gonna be playing time requirements. There's gonna be performance requirements, and now it's just putting even more pressure on the coaches to make sure that they're gonna have to leave kids in the games, and some of the things that we've talked about in the past weeks. Only this NIL thing is only going to enhance those issues, I think.
All right, America. The person that you want to hear from is Alex Bass. Alex, go ahead.
I'm going to begin with an English lesson right here. Let's turn NIL into an acronym. NIL. That's the impact this should have on high school athletics because of everything that everyone has just said right here. I just had dinner and I want to throw up because this is ridiculous. We're going to sacrifice our children's educations over $100. You think that I'm ever going to facilitate a situation where my coaches are bound to keeping kids in games because of some NIL deal? You think I'm going to do that to my coaches? You think I'm going to create a situation where athletics administrators and school administrators are going to start spending more time on 5 kids when you have 500 plus athletes. We can't get officials. We can't get coaches. We're not. We're not. We don't need that. We can't get officials. We can't get coaches. If this happens, we're not going to be able to get athletic directors. This is ridiculous. And if parents actually are going to fall for this nonsense and sacrifice your child's education over $100, we can't make a list right now. We could go back 20 years. LeBron James graduated from high school in May, will be 21 years ago. In the last 21 years, we'd be hard to make a list right now of 9 other kids plus LeBron who would have gotten serious NIL money worth talking about. And we're
hold on 1 second, Alex. That's not true, because there are kids in this country right now that are making $50,000, $60,000, $100,000. There's a young lady that's playing on Arizona now. That was living in Missouri. That transferred high schools to go to California because Missouri didn't allow NIL. She went to California, and she did like $500,000 her senior year. There are players making serious amounts of money.
There are a few,
yeah,
but we're not dealing with them. I mean, this is a pipe dream. It's a pipe dream that is, if I can quote our distinguished panelist, Mr. Cameron Williams, that what we are experiencing now, as Mr. Williams said, is, and I quote, an atrocity to the foundation of education-based athletics.
I'll just say this.
Williams is correct.
Alex, I'll just say this to you and everybody else, is that I know of 4 athletes in the Charlotte area, 2 are track, 1 is basketball, 1 is football. They were offered 5-figure NIL deals this past year. They couldn't take them because they're public school athletes. So now with the private school having NIL, to Chrissy's point earlier, they may say, I can go over there and take that. Now, here's my other question, and I want to throw it to Gary. What's to stop a booster of a parent at a big-time private school, and if public schools one day do get it at an affluent public school, from saying, okay, we need a quarterback. There's a great quarterback in Greensboro. I'll, pay him to represent my company so long as he plays for my school. What do you think about that, Gary?
Well, that's what goes on in college, because if NIL is the same at the high school level as it is at the college level, college coaches are not supposed to talk to NIL, to kids about NIL. They're supposed to direct that to somebody who's over NIL in their program. So, but under the table, the college coaches, they know, these people who are willing to pay money, and they go to them and say, hey, I need this kid, I need this kid, I need this kid. What can you do to help us get it? My biggest question is, if the average NIL deal in high school is $60 to $100, but the kid's parents has to pay tuition from $6,000 to $10,000 a semester, that's not cost effective.
More than that, but yes.
I mean, why would you take $100 and pay $10,000? That makes no sense at all. So
it makes no sense. It makes no dollars.
Yeah, it makes no dollars. Now, if the school is given a scholarship plus the NIL deal, now it's worth listening to. And I'm wondering how much these people who would be willing to give the NIL are already given to their college and universities. You have to make the assumption that people that have a lot of money to give away are already giving it away to some university right now. So do they really want to dip down to the high school level unless they get a guarantee? If I give you this,
if their kids play in high school, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to go to my university.
To make life better for their kid. Chris, what do you think about that scenario that a big booster would come steal one of your girls' basketball players?
I think that's very possible. I mean, that's very, very possible. You have, multi-million-dollar car dealership owners and, professional athletes here in town. There's so much money that can just continue padding their team. And I mean, that's very, very possible. I think that's probably very likely to happen.
So question to the panel: is this the beginning of the end of equity in high school, at least private school athletics?
No, it's not the beginning of the end of equity. There never was equity.
That's right.
There never was equity.
Okay. Does this worsen it?
It worsens it to the point that if parents are gullible enough to accept a deal to transfer from a public school to a private school for ultimately a value of, and I'm just making up a figure here, if the tuition was $10,000, so you're getting a net value of $10,100 basically with the NIL deal included. That if parents are that gullible to sacrifice their child's education over this. Now, everybody knows that. I mean, I've been a school and athletics administrator. Everyone knows I am over the top about education and always will be. If we are going to sacrifice everything in the name of playing somewhere at the high school level, and then we're going to put people like Coach Mitchell and Coach Richmond, if they still were active coaches, we all know that they're still very committed coaches and teachers and all that they do. But we're going to put them in positions where they have to look over their shoulders all the time. Is this car dealer coming in, or is this lawyer coming in? And all of a sudden, somebody's gone. What do you need? You need a poor kid. And this happened once. A poor kid who needed some braces. She needed her teeth fixed. All of a sudden, she ends up at another school. And about 6 months later, she's got a Whitney Houston smile. I mean, I'm sorry to put it in those terms, but that's what this is going to be. If Gary Richmond and Christy Mitchell have to look over their shoulders every day at practice, they're not going to keep doing this.
Right.
Because it's nonsense.
And you got to do it anyway. You're with the recruiting that goes on in high school sports. I mean, you're already looking over your shoulder, and now it's going to even be worse because people are going to come with money to help it out.
Exactly. It is expediting the ruination of high school athletics. And frankly, in some ways, if we go down this road and it really comes to fruition where people want to jump over this stuff, in a lot of ways, I don't want to be a part of it anymore if it comes to that.
Ken, what are your thoughts here? You're closer in age to the players. You talk to a lot of them. You know, what are your thoughts? Big boosters, everything we talked about.
I'm sure the kids, especially the ones that are going to your upper level colleges, are going to be all for this. I mean, who doesn't want to make money? But at the root of it, I feel that if you love the game, you play, whether it be football, basketball, what have you. At the high school level, I don't think there's much good that can come from this. Because it like we've already mentioned, everybody's going to want a piece of the pie, and everybody's just not going to be able to get it. And so I just think there's going to be a lot of friction between parents and coaches, between parents and other players on the same team as their child, and it could just be a hot cesspool.
Rick, any final thoughts before we get out?
Yes. If you look at the coaching profession, look how many high-profile coaches are getting out of, whether it's coaching the NCAA football or basketball, and the main reason is they don't want to deal with the NIL situation anymore, and it's going to filter down into the high school level. And I think it's all fool's gold, and the NIL is going to be a select few at the collegiate level. Just think, you got players that go to D1, low D1, D2, D3, NIAL, NAIA. Mm-hmm. Only a select few athletes get a NIL deal, and that's at the high major athlete going to a high major school. Mm-hmm. It's not going to affect 95% of the players that are playing today.
Well, it's definitely a topic of discussion. I think the public schools are going to get NIL, Alex. Good, bad, or indifferent. I think that's kind of the way the wind's blowing right now. And is there a way, Alex, to make it better in terms of providing guardrails that maybe you haven't seen? Is there anything that you could think of that might make it better? I know you're against it, but because it's coming, is there something that you could think of to kind of keep the train on the track.
Absolutely. The most important piece is going to be a collaborative effort in the education realm. And what I mean by that is LEAs, athletics directors in LEAs are going to have to work collectively, school-based athletic directors and city county athletic directors. And then LEAs are going to have to work with other LEAs to push a comprehensive parent and student athlete education initiative as to the realities of the NIL, the economics of the NIL. It's all got to be in a concentrated education effort to inform the realities that we've all articulated right here. That's the only saving grace that can happen. I mean, the NIL guidelines are going to look pretty similar to what the independent schools have. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But it's just got to be a concentrated parent, student, athlete education piece going forward to show that, as Gary said, this doesn't make sense.
Gary, so, would a collective be a better idea? So to Chrissy's point, you won't have the quarterback just getting something, nobody else gets anything?
Who did you address that to?
You.
Oh, okay. Yes, but after tax,
like hold on, let me stop you. Like, say the car dealer wanted to give, $1,000 to the quarterback. If you had to give it to the team, then everybody could get it. And if the public schools get it, getting $100 could be or $50 could be a big deal to some kids. It covers the cost of their team bag or something.
I think it's too many kids because a collective still has to fall under Title IX guidelines. So because it's a public school, so that means you just can't give it to the football team.
Nope.
You got to give it to the cheerleaders. You got to give it to volleyball. You have to give it to all the fall sports. So you just can't single out one team to get it because then you're violating Title IX.
Well, there probably won't be any collectives in that. That's the only thing I was thinking. But Gary, I'll give you a final thought here before we close out, just on NIL, private schools. Final
thought. It's coming. I think one of the things that high schools need to do is be proactive instead of reactive. We've seen how in college they have been reactive and they try to do things, and everything they attempt to do gets thrown out in court. So if you know something is coming, go ahead and be proactive about it. So you can cut off the unintended consequences of what may happen. We know NIL is coming, so the National Federation of High Schools, they need to go ahead and regulate it before it becomes either legal or illegal in every state in America.
That's a good place to leave it. Okay, well, Christy, are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, time for coach versus coach. Let's warm them up.
Okay, let's step away from prep basketball for just a couple minutes and let's talk about Super Bowl. Who's going to win, and is the Taylor Swift thing blown out of proportion?
The Chiefs are going to win. I would never go against Patrick Mahomes. The Taylor Swift thing is definitely blown out of proportion, but I have Travis Kelce proposing to Taylor Swift at some point during the Super Bowl. So if we think it's bad now, it's only getting ready to get worse.
I like that.
Okay, much like Randall said, I would never go against Patrick Mahomes after what I've seen this playoff year. So I'm pulling for the 49ers because their defensive coordinator, Steve Wilkes, is a friend of mine. But I think Patrick Mahomes will lead the Chiefs to another victory. I just can't go against Mahomes. The Taylor Swift, this will be the most watched Super Bowl in the history of football. Just because of her presence, it will be the most watched Super Bowl in history.
Really?
Yeah,
it's gonna be like was it the Jets game? Was the Jets game her first game? Or there was a game before the Jets at Arrowhead. The first game that she went to was out of control numbers wise. It's gonna do bigger numbers than that on Sunday.
It's going to make the NFL money because they're going to raise the ad rates.
Yeah,
because they know she's going to be there, and so the NFL is going to profit from it. The networks are going to profit from it. It will be the most watched Super Bowl in the history of the NFL.
Okay, so back to high school sports. So we know that we're going 8A next year with the new realignment. Do we think that we'd be better off with smaller conferences? Why or why not?
I think with smaller conferences, you give the schools an opportunity to play more non-conference games, but so they can build up their strength of schedule. But the downfall of that is teams that don't have a reputation of having a good program are going to find it hard to schedule a lot of games because they don't do anything for somebody's strength of schedule. So I like to see the conferences stay the same, and then when you go to playoffs is when everything gets smaller.
Do you think that going to smaller conferences and giving them non-conference games, does it allow some of these public schools that aren't very good to play other public schools that aren't very good, or to play some of the private schools? I think it helps more so than it hurts. I think if coaches do their scheduling well enough in advance and you're honest about what you have, kind of like you would be in college, like I think there's a way where you can be like, hey, you guys weren't the greatest this year. We're young. We're not the greatest. Maybe we can do a home and home the next 2 years or whatnot, just so we have more competitive games. For me, especially on the girls' side, it's so tough to open the paper and every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, you got 50-point blowouts, 60-point blowouts, 70. It's just hard. I think with the smaller conferences on the next realignment, it would allow some of these other schools to get a chance to kind of play against teams that are more of their caliber, and they don't have to necessarily play these powerhouses night in and night out.
I think the coaches would like it, but I don't think the ADs would like it. Because what ADs are thinking about is the gate. They're thinking about the gate. I want to play this school because their fans travel well, and I'm going to make more money. And that's what ADs are thinking about. They don't want, the 100th ranked school playing the 101 ranked school because they're not going to make any money off of that. It's going to cost.
What's going to be really interesting is if you look at 8A, which is going to be the largest high schools in the state. They're right here in Charlotte. You got Audrey Kell, Myers Park, South Meck, the new Ballantyne Ridge, Huff, North Meck, maybe East Meck. I may have missed somebody.
Mallard Creek's up there.
Mallard Creek. So heck, right there alone, that's going to be a really tough conference if that was your basketball conference. May not look the same in all sports.
I would not want to be the new coach at Ballantyne Ridge in anything. If that's the conference I got, no, thank you. I would not be applying for that job. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I don't know what the conference is going to be anyway, but it would only make sense that your 8A schools are going to be your largest schools, in the state.
It would. It would. I mean, that makes the most sense. But, I'm sure you're going to have some of these other schools, Audrey Kell, I'm sure they're going to complain about having to go, if they would have to go to North or Huff, and I'm sure Huff and North are going to have the same complaints. So it's going to be tricky. It's going to make it interesting. But I mean, I don't think there's an issue with that. If you can make it work, I think that's what's best. In the conference that I played in Ohio, we had to drive 45, 50 minutes, plus some nights to go to games, whether it be a Tuesday or Friday night. Like, we had to travel, and it just was what we did.
And the way traffic is around here, Randall, if Huff is driving down to
could you imagine having to leave? Could you imagine having to go from Audrey Kell to Huff on a Friday afternoon, getting on going 485 to 77? I mean, that's just brutal. Like literally probably
your JV girls team would have to get out of school.
Oh yeah, JV girls definitely they got to get out of. They got to be out of school by about 1:00 for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. The NCAA COVID exemptions end after the 24-25 school year. Will high school recruiting return back to normal, or is high school being the last recruited group, is that a permanent trend?
I think it's a permanent trend. It's the new normal. Until they put a cap on the transfer portal as to how often and how soon you can do it, college coaches are always going to want that kid that they have college film on, and not project so much what they're going to get out of a high school kid. So I think this is the new normal. High school kids are the lowest on the totem pole until something changes with the transfer portal.
I think it's gonna be different because now we're getting out of a realm where you got these teams with 24, 25, 26-year-olds on it. That's been a big trend as of late. You're still gonna have the transfer portal, yes, but I think what some coaches are realizing is, and the transfer portal is not always as great as it seems. There have been a lot of coaches who have taken a kid out of transfer portal, and when you get them, you don't really have a chance to recruit them. You don't really have a chance to learn how they are and what they do. And I have seen situations where you get a kid out the portal and the kid can literally come in and blow the whole thing up. And you two know it only takes one, especially on the basketball team. It only takes one bad apple to ruin the whole bunch. And I think I've talked to coaches and they've been like, yeah, the portal is a good thing and we're still going to, recruit it. But I think, some of these schools are going to start trending back towards, hey, let's go get some high school kids.
Yeah.
Definitely agree. I think that they're still going to recruit the high major kid, the Austin Swartz, the Bishop Boswell, the Isaiah Evans. Those kids are still going to be found and still get recruited. I think your mid-major, low major, your D2 kids, those are the ones that are seeing it the most.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And I always, for me personally, I always tell my kids that are D2, like, if you're a D2 kid, it takes a little bit longer. It's kind of at the end of your senior season is kind of when those things start to take place. And so, for a lot of people, I think you just have to understand, these schools' processes and the processes we're at as far as recruiting goes. And if you know it, I think it kind of helps with what's going on.
All right. Well, Randall, it's that time of the show. It's time for your final thoughts.
This is one of my favorite times of year. I look at a lot of these matchups that we have going on this week, and I'm excited. We have some great matchups, competitive games. You got to go on the road, and I know a lot of people don't like the playoffs, the conference tournament. I'm a big fan of it. I think it gives it gives you a chance, and sometimes all you need is a chance. So I know we're in the dog days of the season, but for all those players out there, just keep working and finish the season strong.
All right. Well, that you got me in mid-type as you were coming up to your final thoughts. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this week. We'll be back next week getting close to conference tournaments. Next week, we're going to talk about city championships. I'm going to turn Gary loose on city championships to give you his idea of how we can have a bonanza in Charlotte that would be great for the city and great for CMS as well. Anyway, that's Randall, the best trainer I know. That's Christy Mitchell, the coach, Cam, the guru in training, Rick Lewis, the #1 voice of high school basketball, and Gary Richmond, another retired CMS coach. And